طيب تفضل.
الكبيرة الرابعة ترك الصلاة. قال الله تعالى: فخلف من بعدهم خلف أضاعوا الصلاة واتبعوا الشهوات فسوف يلقون غيا إلا من تاب وآمن وعمل صالحا إلى آخر الآية. وقال تعالى: فويل للمصلين الذين هم عن صلاتهم ساهون الذين هم يراءون ويمنعون الماعون. وقال تعالى: ما سلككم في سقر قالوا لم نكن من المصلين. وقال صلى الله عليه وسلم: العهد الذي بيننا وبينهم الصلاة فمن تركها فقد كفر. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم: من فاتته صلاة العصر حبط عمله. وقال: بين العبد وبين الشرك ترك الصلاة. وقال صلى الله عليه وسلم: من ترك الصلاة متعمدا فقد برئت منه ذمة الله.
اللهم المستعان لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله ثم أما بعد. والله يعني بارك الله فيك لكن لا بأس لا بأس إن شاء الله. هذا أحسن جزاك الله خير. أنا آسف.
Be careful. Okay?
أحسن يعني بعدين والله سبب.
This is yours.
جزاك الله خير. الله يحفظك. جزاك الله كل خير. We begin inshallah ta'ala with a continuation of the class of Al-Kaba'ir. يعرف الإمام العلامة شمس الدين معروف بإمام الذهبي, known as Imam al-Dhahabi. We entered the fourth major sin that the Shaykh presents. And we mentioned before that some of the scholars have mentioned that there are only 7 major sins from the hadith of the Prophet, Ijtanibu as-sab'ul mubiqat. And others have said that it's not restricted to 7, as they bring the different ways to identify what is a major sin, that which is punishable by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the hellfire. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save us from the major sins. And if we're from those people that we are deserving of the shafa'ah, the intercession, as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, أحسد الناس شفاعتي أحسد الناس شفاعة من أمتي يوم القيامة نعم يعني الكبائر أو كما قال. Those who are the most deserving, the most in need of me asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive them, not to punish them, as we say, to let them off the hook. They are the people who accept Islam. They don't die upon major shirk, but they have major sins with them. They are the most deserving that the Prophet intercede between them and their Lord on the Day of Judgment. This fourth major sin, Tarikul Salah, is a bit controversial. It is to be debated, and it is an old issue. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the likes of the statement, وَخَلَفَ مِن بَعْدِهِمْ خَلْفًا أَضَاعُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَاتَّبَعُوا الشَّهَوَاتِ وَسَوْفَ يَلْقَوْنَ غَيًّا. That there will come people after the generations that were mentioned. And there's a difference of opinion. Some scholars of the tafsir of this ayah, they mentioned that this was the nations before the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam that Allah was talking about, and that those people that will come after those prior nations, like he mentioned the story of Sulaiman, the story of Abuhu Dawood alayhi salam, alayhim salam. You go back the stories before them of the other prophets. This, some scholars say, this is the meaning of the verse. Allah is talking about those people came, and there will come after them a group, a nation that would be negligent in the salah. They would waste the salah. They would lose the salah, and they will follow their desires, meaning the Muslims. Others have said that the verse is in reference to us being the nation, and it's particularly talking about that group of Muslims with the Prophet. After the death of the Prophet, after those people, the Sahaba, then there will come from the Muslims other people that will do this. And both of them, are applicable. Sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings something in the religion, and it's two ways. There's no wrong and right. Both of them are right, depending on how they are looked at, depending on the time and circumstance, depending upon the meaning. What's important is Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala's statement, that this will happen, ada'u salat. People will waste the salat. What tabu'u shahawat. Now, look at the two of these. If a person loses his salat, partially or altogether, partially, فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, and the Shaykh brings this verse as well. فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ يُرَاءُونَ. Naam. These people, sahun fi salatihim, they are not praying the salat properly. Inwardly, ahyan, or outwardly, ahyan. Either one of the two. And the inward part of salat goes together with the outward part of salat. If a person's not praying outwardly correct, for example, he's looking around, he's praying, and his eyes look to the right. His eyes look to the front, then look to the left. And some people, they pray like this. I've seen some video where they're showing the people praying Jumu'ah in certain places, and you see the guy, he's looking around like he's in the department store of the mall. He's in salat, Allah Mustaan. And then if you talk about another example, the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned the rajulun Masih fi salat. He prayed badly, meaning his salat was fasid. It was not wholesome and good because he was just moving without any distinguishing factors in his salat. You didn't know what he was doing. It was going so fast you couldn't tell, was he just standing and he made ruku', or did he just come out of ruku' to standing? What is he doing? This is an example of losing the salat outwardly. Then if you talk about inwardly, it's connected, but it can be separate too, where a person is thinking about something. He's praying, and on his mind is not the verse. On his mind is not thinking about the reward. On his mind is not, what if this is my last salah? He's thinking about the thing that he left on the countertop. Maybe Ahmed is going to get it. He's thinking about his last piece of candy that he hid from his wife. Maybe she's going to find it because she likes it. She's going to eat it. He's thinking about he has to get this check. He hoped they didn't mess it up this week because they messed up last week on the check. And like this. But they're inclusive. They go together. And this, you ruin your salah, either partially, juziyan, or kuliyan, or altogether. You lose your salah in one way or another. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned what tabu shahawat. Allah musta'an. This is one of the most magnificent oversights that we look at every day when we talk about the leaders of Muslim countries, when we talk about the relationship between the leaders and the common folk, when we talk about the common folk and the different arguments and fights between the Muslims, when we talk about any problem that we face, this is one of the biggest oversights. The issue of salah and following desires. If the people learn to pray properly, and I'm not talking about necessarily where do you put your hands and how do you go down when you make sujood. These things are to be debated. Some of them take discussion that's detailed. Some of them, or not for everyday Muslim to discuss, but just the basic concepts of prayer, as we mentioned, not looking around, making sure that the people understand what they're reading in salah. Wallahi, if you ask people, what does Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen or Alhamdu mean? Wallahi, they can't tell you. They just say, praise be to Allah. But it means more than that. You know, if you ask the people, what does Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim means? Which is it the name of Allah, a description of Allah? Is it both? What does it entail? Basic things about the name Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim, they can tell you. So what do you think the effect of the salah is going to be for that person? Is there going to be an effect on the person's life and his mannerisms? Is it going to prevent the person, as Allah said, عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ, protect them from evil deeds and those things from the major sins? Of course not. As they say, we're just going through the motions. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is profound. And most of the ulama, when they talk about this in light of فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ, they mention that just as the verse implies, just as Allah clearly says, they're praying. So you can't have an idea in your head that they left salah, as the chapter is Tarikul Salah, abandoning salah. But this could lead to a person not praying, being negligent. As the Shaykh, he mentioned an example, person prays Dhuhr, but he doesn't pray Asr, Maghrib, and Isha, doesn't pray Fajr. The next day, he might pray Dhuhr and Asr, Maghrib, and then maybe he goes to sleep. He doesn't pray Fajr. He didn't pray Isha. He goes to work. She goes to work. 3 or 4 days pass. They get home. They're very tired. They have to get something to eat. They have to run to the store. They have to do this and that. Before you know it, sleep. No salat the whole day. Then the next day, the same thing, and they feel very low and say, man, I got to make some salat. So then they may make 4 salat, and they feel good. Yeah, I pray 4 salat today, mashallah. But it's 5 salat a day, you know. So when we talk about this, of course, a person is not going to be the same, but it's going to enable them, wallahu alam, it's going to enable them to maybe one day look up and they just don't pray anymore. Because it leads to following the desires in the negative sense. Not meaning I'm hungry, I want to eat, I'm thirsty, I want to drink. Those are good desires. Well, here we talk about shahawat, we mean the bad things, the things that are astray. Shahawat doesn't go with salah. That's why Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned the salah, tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar. It will prevent you. Why? Because shahawat, doing wrong in salah, they don't mix. Kama anil iman wal nifaq la yujfi fi qalbin wahid. Just as iman and hypocrisy doesn't sit in one heart. وكما أن القرآن والمعازف كما ذكر ابن القيم الجوزية لا يجتمعان في قلب واحد. Quran and music, I don't care what type. If you're used to listen to entertainment, it sounds good and you love it, wallahi, even if you have some portion of love for the Quran, it's going to diminish because they can't be both in one heart. Either it's iman and the things of iman, or it's the opposite of iman and the things that are the opposite of iman. So here, the Shaykh is bringing these verses in the context of either being negligent of salah will lead you to abandon the salah totally, or negligence of salah is abandoning salah in the sense that it's not establishing the salah as Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has commanded you, and you lose out, as the Prophet mentioned, from the first things a person will be questioned about is the salah. فَإِنْ صَلَحَتْ مَاذَا أَفْلَحَ وَنَجَاهَ. And if they are right, guess what? He will be successful in this life and in the hereafter, and he will be saved from the punishment. Wallahu musta'an. Also, there's from the Sahaba statements of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that show that leaving the salah is on the level of kufr wa shirk. The Prophet mentioned al-ahdu baynana wa baynahum as-salah. تَرَكَهَا فَقَدْ كَفَرَ. The thing that makes us different between us and our Lord and makes them the way they are, meaning the non-Muslims with their Lord, is the salah. What identifies and makes the relationship firsthand with the servant and his Lord is the testimony. But beyond that, what action that distinguishes that person with his Lord and has a direct relationship on a constant basis with his Lord? As-salah. Why? Because when the person is praying, what is he reading in the salah? What do you read when you pray? Anybody? Huh? You sure?
Yes.
It doesn't sound sure. Quran?
Yes.
Anybody else agree with him?
I agree with you.
When you pray, you read the Quran, right?
Yes.
Alhamdulillah. And many of the scholars have mentioned when you read the Quran, كَأَنَّكَ يَتَحَدَّثْ مَعَ اللَّهِ. It is as if you are in a conversation with Allah directly. Because the Quran is in the first person, then it's talking about in the second person, and it's talking about in the third person. First person meaning not that Allah is a person. وَلِيَعْذُ بِاللَّهِ. When you talk about context, al-mutakallam, he's the initial in the conversation, meaning he's speaking. So in this case, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then, as we say, second person, that means the person is being talked to. Al-khatib. He's the one who's being the listener, and he's delivering that to the third person. Or the one who's talking is telling the one who's listening about somebody that's not in his time or not around him. This is called third person. So when the Quran, Tabarak wa Ta'ala, out of his wisdom, he has left the conversation of first person, second person, and third person. Meaning, Allah is narrating directly and talking directly to the Prophet. Either he's talking to the Prophet about things that he wants the Prophet to know about himself and his ummah and those things related to the paradise and the Jannah and the rules and regulations, and or he's informing the Prophet of those nations that came before him, which is third person, meaning you're talking about someone fil ghaib. They're in the not there, they're in the unseen or in the past. So this many of the scholars, they mention when you're praying to Allah, or if you're reading the Quran, tilawah, it's as if you're conversating with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And this type of relationship, wallahi, it necessitates that the person won't follow his desires, that the person, if he has some type of sin or shortcoming by default, it won't be the same as the ones who don't pray. And the Prophet mentioned, "Ahdu baynana wa baynahum as-salat." This is a reality. But at the same time, the ahd between the abd is more than that. The Prophet ﷺ is talking about as it relates to the salah in this regard is the contract or the promise or the oath between the servant and his Lord. Wallahu musta'an. Faddal.
نعم. الكبيرة الخامسة منع الزكاة. قال الله تعالى: وويل للمشركين الذين لا يؤتون الزكاة. وقال تعالى: والذين يكنزون الذهب والفضة ولا ينفقونها في سبيل الله فبشرهم بعذاب أليم يوم يحمى عليها في نار جهنم فتكوى بها جباههم وجنوبهم وظهورهم هذا ما كنزتم لأنفسكم فذوقوا ما كنتم تكنزون. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: ما من صاحب إبل ولا بقر ولا غنم لا يؤدي منها زكاتها إلا بطح لها يوم القيامة بقاع قرقر تنطحه بقرونها وتطأه بأخفافها كلما نفلت عليه أخراها عادت عليه أولاها حتى يقضى بين الناس في يوم كان مقداره 50,000 سنة ثم يرى سبيله إما إلى الجنة وإما إلى النار. وما من صاحب كنز لا يؤدي زكاته إلا مثل له كنزه يوم القيامة شجاعا أقرع. وقال تعالى: ولا يحسبن الذين يبخلون بما آتاهم الله من فضله هو خير لهم بل هو شر لهم سيطوقون ما بخلوا به يوم القيامة ولله ميراث السماوات والأرض والله بما تعملون خبير.
Allahumma salli hasbunallah wa wakil. We went into the fifth major sin of zakah. هكذا. And Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran many times, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَمَاذَا وَآتَ zakah. Now, and both of them were a cleansing process. A salat to cleanse you from bad thoughts, bad actions, bad deeds, bad dealings, to make you close to Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. وَالزَّكَاةُ بَارَكَ اللَّهُ فِيكُمْ نَفْسُ الشَّيْء, to cleanse you from bukhul, being stingy, not thinking about the ones that are less fortunate. At the same time, when you think about the ones that are less fortunate, it should make you praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It should make you realize that Allah, out of His mercy, is al-Ghaniyu, at the same time, al-Aliyun Kabir. He owns everything, while He is the one who is above everything, and He has the knowledge and awareness of both the wealthy and the poor. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has given all of them a certain ajal musamma, certain appointed time. And with that appointed time on earth, Prophet ﷺ mentioned from amongst the things is his risk. What he will have, whether it's food, clothing, what type, how much, where, by what means, hakada. And this should increase the one who has to give more. This should increase the one who has to gain a closer relationship with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Not to be bakhal with his wealth, with his resources. Because most of the time, those people that are bakhil, they are also wicked. Those people who don't care about the aspect of giving and helping the poor, they are evil. They want more, they want more, they want more. And they'll do anything to gain more. And this in itself, makes the heart of an individual hard. This does not purify a person, make a person humble himself to his Lord, and does not make him or encourage him to humble himself with the khala'iqah, with the creation of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And it makes him feel self-sufficient. It does not make that person look for the meeting with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Rather, he feels that he can live, she will live forever. And with this type of mentality, then you feel invincible. Nothing can stop me. I am mighty. And this is one of the ways to become tawaghit, to be self-sufficient. Set yourself up as one to be idolized or deified. Then you become a ma'boob min dunillah. You set yourself as a thing to be worshipped, an object of worship besides Allah. And people will take you as such and try to model you and copy you, and hereafter you will be humiliated. We also forgot to mention that with the prior major sin, which is the abandonment of salah, that some people in groups of the past, they have used the likes of the text from the Quran and from the statements of the Prophet to marginalize individuals. And we understand that the Sahaba, radwanullah alayhim ajma'een, they deemed whoever leaves the salah to be kafir, based on the ayah and the text from the Prophet's mouth. And this doesn't mean that anyone is excluded. It can be the one who's talking, it can be the one who's listening, it can be the greatest king, the one who has the most knowledge. They deem the one who leaves the salah, khalas, kafir. And no one disagreed with those Sahaba, like Abdullah ibn Abbas and the likes, who held this view from the hadith of the Prophet. And you find that this is strongly and clearly mentioned in the Quran. Well, Tabarak wa Ta'ala mentioned, إِلَّا مَنْ تَابَ وَإِلَّا مَنْ تَابَ إِلَّا مَنْ تَابَ آمَنَ وَعَمَلَ الصَّالِحَاتِ. And in other verses, فَإِخْوَانَكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ, and statements like this show that a person went too far, except those who believe and do righteous deeds, as if that person left the realm of belief in righteous deeds. And if they return back to Salat, then they're your brothers in religion, showing that if they become your brothers in religion, then what were they momentarily? But people have used these texts to marginalize and to shed the blood of Muslims and to pass a judgment which they have no right to pass. And we mentioned before that many of the scholars today, they take the opposite opinion. Is there some indication that a person, if he doesn't disbelieve that Salah is an obligation and he doesn't pray, that it's not the same? And you have this opinion as well. The one who says, I don't have to pray, I don't believe the Salah is an obligation on me, clearly, without any disagreement, everyone agrees, from the people of ilm, from the people of the past, from the people who hold to the psychology that comes with the speech of Allah, the understanding that comes with the speech of Allah, the concrete creed that comes with the speech of Allah, the concrete belief that comes from the Quran and the tongue of the Prophet, he left Islam unanimously. If he denies that obligation, because if Allah reveals something and you deny it, as all of the four Imams, they agreed, Man radda ayatun min al-Quran faqad kafar. He has disbelieved. And of course this means with the person being explained to him, this is wrong, this is disbelief, you shouldn't do this, because there's a thing called udhr bil-jahl. A person will be excused by Allah if he doesn't know. How about us excusing him? We have to. If he doesn't know, as the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ تَجَاوَزَ عَنْ أُمَّتِي مَاذَا الْخَطَأ وَالنُّسْيَانَ وَمَا اسْتُكْرِهَ عَلَيْهِ. يعني الخطأ هكذا جهل. Person makes a mistake, but in reality, he didn't think it was a mistake, he thought it was okay. Or he didn't know the severity of the issue, then the Prophet has mentioned Allah has already forgiven him. In nasina aw akhta'na, if we forget or we what? Make a mistake. And this is a type of mistake. So a person has to, as they say, aqamatul hujjah, explain to the person, be patient with the person. You can't say, okay, he didn't get the concept in 1 week, that's it, pass judgment. Who are you? It may take sineen for a person to gather these concepts and understand, because guidance is from Allah. An-natija ma indana, bal huwa min indillah. The end result is not in our hands, it's in the hands of Allah. In many of the groups, wallahi, they have shed blood. Perhaps they don't even pray properly. They don't pray five salah. They're just concerned with who they can spy on and see. He doesn't pray. He's a kafir. His blood is lawful. A'udhu billah. This is not the reason behind these injunctions in the Quran. This is not the reason behind such verdicts, and these are not the way that these texts should be handled. Rather, therefore, the individual to take serious the minimum and the maximum. That if a person is negligent in salah, then he should fear, she should fear that maybe they will leave the salah one day. Therefore, don't be negligent in the salah, inwardly or outwardly. And that, if a person leaves it purposely and says that I believe I don't have to pray, then this is clearly something that renders that person outside of Islam. We don't have to pass judgment or take him out. He himself has exited Islam with this belief. But if a person, because of drinking, because of staying up late, because of drugs, because of getting overwhelmed with fun and game, and he doesn't pray, or he prays at times, other times he doesn't miss the salat, he prayed in ahyan, dhuhr, he didn't pray maghrib, but he prayed isha, then there's a difference the scholars mean between the one who leaves the salah altogether and the one who prays every now and then. There's a difference between the one who leaves the salat believing that it's okay, there's no harm on me because I don't have to pray, versus the one who leaves the salat because of a circumstance. And this Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made clear in this book. Wallahu musta'an. Faddal.
أكملنا الكبيرتين نواصل يا شيخ. طيب الكبيرة السادسة حقوق الوالدين. قال الله تعالى وقضى ربك ألا تعبدوا إلا إياه وبالوالدين إحسانا إما يبلغن عندك الكبر أحدهما أو كلاهما فلا تقل لهما أف ولا تنهرهما وقل لهما قولا كريما واخفض لهما جناح الذل من الرحمة. وقال تعالى ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حسنا. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم رضا الله في رضا الوالد وسخط الله في سخط الوالد.
الله الله الله. كبيرة سادسة هو حقوق الوالدين. حقوق الوالدين ضد بر الوالدين. حقوق ضد بر والدين. The opposite of this حقوق is bir. And here bir means yani generally has a big meaning. And if it's mentioned yani with taqwa, then it has another meaning, bir. And Prophet ﷺ mentioned yani about bir in the hadith of Nu'man ibn Bashir. And we understand that from these different perspectives about bir, that it includes the issue of the parents. This is why the lack of this concept bir, which means yani working together, which means to be yani fair, to be just, which means to be compassionate, which means yani to be responsible, and all of these different things. Then the opposite of that, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is blame, Haqooq al-Walidain. And there's a hadith of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, similarly to the verses that we heard. Jibril came to him. The origin of this hadith is in Sahih Muslim with an extended version in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad. And as the Prophet went up the minbar, at each step he said, Ameen. The second step, Ameen. The third step, Ameen. And then when he turned around, they said to him, Ya Rasulullah, O Messenger of Allah, we observe you saying Ameen. So the Prophet ﷺ explained, he said, Jibril came to me, and he was saying to me, and of course they didn't see Jibril, but the Prophet, and he was able to see Jibril. Jibril mentioned 3 subjects to him. Each step, the Prophet agreed, Ameen. Each step the Prophet took, the concept and the issue was being mentioned. Until he said Ameen 3 times, and 3 things have been covered. From amongst them was this Haqooq al-Walidain. And Jibril, he said about this one who meets both of the parents. He lives to see both of the parents in old age, or ahadahuma, or one of them. Because this can be the case that the mother dies before the father, or the father dies before the mother. Sometimes both of them die in old age, and like this. So the Prophet mentioned both scenarios. And wala yubirihuma, and he's not bir to them. Meaning, he disappoints them. And we don't mean they want you to do something that's against the religion and you don't do it so you disappoint them. No. We mean in the sense of their feelings, the responsibilities toward them, being a companion to them, being understanding with them, being a service towards them, and like this. That you don't hurt them physically by hand nor by speech. That you don't abandon them, leave them. You don't become mean to them in their old age. That you honor them. Prophet said, whoever doesn't do that, Jibril said about them, may they be punished in the fire. And one narration, Jibril, the Prophet said, he mentioned, وَأَبْعَدَهُمَ اللَّهُ, and may they be far removed from the mercy and the guidance of Allah. Jibril said, Ameen. The Prophet said, فَقُلْتُ Ameen. So I said, Ameen too. And this shows that, Allah musta'an, this is a serious problem. And we understand the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and when Jibril came and he asked him an al-Islam, an al-Iman wa Ihsan, about Islam, Iman, Ihsan. And the end of the hadith, when the Prophet was talking about the signs of the hour, he mentioned a statement that some ulama, they see it to mean in this context, that women will give birth to children that normally the parents are up over and they raise them and they look after them and they respect them and they give them commands and duties, where these children, the role would reverse. The role would reverse. That the children would be like that to the parents. And wallahi, we were in the store a couple of weeks ago, me and my wife, and there was a grown lady, clearly young in age and had 2 children, and the mother was there, which is the children's grandmother. So, being that I can't see, I pay close attention with my ears. But the lady was close by us, maybe like from here to Brother Naeem or the Sheikh, like this. So she said to the mother, "Get over here, Ma. Get over here. Get over here and look at this." Like this, So the mother came, and then she said, "Don't leave them over there like that by themselves. Bring them over here." Talking about the 2 children that were her children. Don't leave the grandchildren of yours, which are my children, over there by themselves. Bring them over here. And on top of that, she was commanding the mother to come to look at something that she wanted her to look at, as if the mother was her child and she was the mother. And I told my wife at that point in Arabic, I said, "Subhanallah." And I mentioned about Aquq al-Walidain. Then, just as she finished, the 2 children did the same thing to the mother. The mother told them something, and they talked back to the mother, "Oh, we don't have to, we're okay," and little bitty children. So, I mean, it's a trickle-down effect. And if you have a society where people are not respecting the parents, the displeasure of the parents is more than the pleasure of the parents in the right context, that the parents are abandoned, they don't respect them. Many of them, they hurt them physically, verbally. They steal from them, take their monies. Some of them even, they lock them in the house. Some of them, they become of age, put them in the nursing home. I don't want to have anything to do with them. I'm not going to go and check on her. Just put her over there in this place with the rest of the old people. Allah Muslim. And then you'll find that this is prevalent in societies like this where they don't teach birrul walidain. Nas'al Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yahfu anna kathir. Ask Allah to forgive us more and to make us from those who remember these great injunctions in the Quran, that we ourselves in our adult age, if we have parents, that we become birri to them, and perhaps our children will be birri to us. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa sallam tasliman kathira. Walhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Any questions? Barakallahu feekum.
بر الوالدين أفضل
ماذا؟
بعد موتهم.
Bir walidain, after the parents have died, is there an extension of this concept, which we mentioned again, bir walidain, basically that you, in the right context, you are pleasing to the parents. You don't upset them, you don't disrespect them, you don't make them feel slighted, you don't make them feel unworthy of living and so forth. Is there any extension of dealing with the parents in this certain way after they die? Some scholars have mentioned if they're Muslim, then from amongst the continuation of this concept where you are paying them back basically for them raising you, for the very fact that Allah used those parents or those people to be your parents, and you're from their loins, and then on top of that, the mother carried you and delivered you and helped you until you can get on your own as a baby, then you owe them this. This is a payback. So what's owed to them after they die? Some scholars have mentioned if they're Muslim, you make dua for them. If they're Muslim, you make dua for them. And this doesn't mean you go to the grave necessarily and you make dua for them. No, you make dua for them. And the salah, during the adhan and the iqamah, at the times like when it rains and the last part of the night, something that is forgotten about when you travel. As many people travel and they think, oh, I had a nice trip and we did this and that. But one of the etiquettes of travel that you increase in dua. This dua of the travel is answered. When you fast and you break your fast, etc. You make dua for them. Ask Allah to forgive them. Ask Allah to make their grave spacious. Ask Allah not to hold them accountable. Ask Allah to raise them Yawm al-Qiyamah with righteous and not to raise them with other than the righteous. Ask Allah to admit them into Jannah. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make their offsprings righteous and to make their offsprings not punished like you make dua for them. And if they're non-Muslim, and some scholars say that, the right after they die is not that you make dua for them if you're Muslim, because you can't make dua for them, those who clearly died upon kufr. If they clearly died upon kufr, idol worshipping, that which is dhahir, which we can see, died, Jesus is my Lord, al-waliyadu billah. These are clear injunctions in the Quran that they died upon kufr. And if it's something other than that, then this issue goes to the scholars with the details and they make a verdict. But in black and white, if a person dies upon what's istiqamah, then that parent still has the right that you make dua for them. And if they died on other than that, like my mother, for example, was not Muslim, and I pray she accepts Islam, if she dies upon what she believes now, it's clear where she goes, and I cannot make dua for her. However, some scholars have mentioned if they have close friends, pay close attention. They have close friends, like where we come from, we say she's like my aunt, or she's like my mother. Your mom sometimes has friends like that, that when you were coming up, she looked after you. She made sure, you didn't get into trouble. If you did something, she would talk to you or discipline you. And as you grow up, when she sees you, she's happy. She gives you a hug. You give her a kiss on the forehead. You take the trash out. You cut the grass. She says, that's like my son. People that have a relationship with your mother like that, and your mother will send you to them people if they're sick, to check on them or to look after them. Some scholars say that when the parents die, part of birrul walidain, if those people are still alive, you continue to look after them. Because your parents would have wanted that because of the relationship between those people if they were alive. So now that they died, that you continue that as a way of repaying or honoring or giving birr to your family. والله سبحانه وتعالى أعلم وإياكم إياكم إلى هنا سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا هو أستغفرك وأتوب إليه جزاكم الله خيرا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته